Welcome to Furniture Redesign by MBM. And if you like this type of content, make sure you subscribe to the channel. Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. And here's a look at the piece that we'll be redesigning today. Now, this piece I got from Facebook Marketplace. This cabinet, I don't know where it would go, but my husband said it is probably a part of an entertainment center. It has the open door with a shelf, and it has this teeny weeny shelf at the top. Now, I thought it was wood, but it's not. It's a particle board with the wood on top. So, but it's really deep. I want to say it's about 28 inches deep. And I want to use it in my dining room. So I've already drawn a line. I want to cut off about 10 inches off the whole thing all the way around. So I've already drawn the line with a marker where I want to cut it. And I want to cut it all the way around. I want this to go in my dining room as a serving cart. Now it is low as well, so I will be adding some legs to raise it up. Like I said, always say I don't want to waste time. I want to go ahead and prepare to cut the 10 inches all the way around off this piece. And because this piece is heavy, I'm going to get my husband to help me with it. We're going to take it outside and cut it in half. So I'll see you in a bit. So I recruited my husband to help me out. He's going to cut it down to size for me. So the first thing he's doing is removing the doors. And then he flipped it over and he's taking that back panel off. Now, of course, I got to replace the panel because there is a hole in the back of the panel. Then he takes a screwdriver to release the 3 screws that holds the top to the base. However, the base is glued on, so he takes a hammer and a chisel and try to pry it apart without damaging the top. To keep from damaging the top of the stand, I decided to go ahead and leave the top. So he takes my mark that I made on top and he brings it down both of the sides. Now we move the cabinet outside. And as you can see, here in Northwest Indiana, it's snowing, but that's okay. He's only going to be out here maybe 10 or 15 minutes to do that cut. So he's going ahead, making sure that his mark is dark enough that he can see it. And then he's going to take his circular saw and start to cut. And yes, I did recruit my husband to do these cuts because I'm really not good at cutting a straight line in nothing that I do. So I wanted it to be really, really precise because I am doing a piece of furniture. So I had him do this. Plus, it's extremely heavy. So I'm just here recording and making sure that it's done to my specifications. To continue his cut on the back side, he had to take off the cross plate, and this is the plate to just make it sturdy, and he had to even up the bottom to make sure that his saw can go all the way across the bottom of the piece. You see him transferring that mark from the side to the bottom of the piece, and he'll switch from the circular saw to the jigsaw to continue that cut. The next problem we got to is the center shelf was glued in. So, of course, he had to figure out a way to get that cut even with the back side before he can continue his cut. Once he get through this shelf, the piece should come apart. So now I'm back inside and my piece is cut in half. But right here at the top, there was a nail in the support and it made the blade kick back. So it's a little bit uneven, but that's okay. I'm going to take my sander and sand everything smooth, and I'll just try to smooth that out as best I can. I'll also make sure that I scuff sand the balance of the stand. Again, I just want to smooth up this raw edges around the whole piece so that I can get the back on easily. Once that's done, it's time to take the hardware off and clean the piece. Again, this is a very important step. I always say this in all my videos. You want to make sure you clean the piece because you don't know where it came from. I'm just using Dawn soap and water to scrub my piece off. It looked fairly clean because it was in a home, but I'm still making sure that it's clean before I go any further. I'm going to get the piece rinsed down and we'll come back for the next step. I am back and it's time for paint. These are the products that we'll be using. I'm using paint by Rust-Oleum and I'm using it in the Champagne Gold. Now this paint is left over from another project, so I didn't go out and buy anything. I have my primer Zinsser 123 and I've already added my primer in this plastic bowl, and I took this metallic paint in the brown to add to my primer. And I'm doing this because the primer is white and I'm using a champagne, and I want my primer to be in the tan family. It will make it easier to cover, and I'll have less coats that I'll have to add. So now I'm just using my short handle angle brush, and I want to brush on my primer. Now I'm just applying a second coat of primer to make sure I have a good coverage. Now I'm ready to replace the support piece. So I'm marking where I need to drill pilot holes to hold my screw. Again, I'm doing this because this is particle board and I don't want the particle board to split. I want my screw to go in tightly. So I'm just marking the holes, and then I'll take my drill and drill the pilot hole. Then I'll use my screwdriver with the same screw, screw it back into place. I clean up all the rubber that fell off my screwdriver plus the sawdust because I'm going to use some glue, and I want to glue down two pieces of wood because I will be adding legs. I've already had my wood cut to size, and now I want to use this wood glue and glue it down before I screw it down. I'll use these screws along with the wood glue to hold it steadily in place. Here are the acrylic legs that I want to use to raise my piece up about 4 inches. It does have the hardware, and this is the hardware that goes with it. I'll use 3 screws to hold each piece of the hardware in place. I also have these soft floor protectors I want to add to the bottom of each of the legs, and that's just to protect my floor when I move the piece around. Since my piece is already upside down, I went ahead and filled in all of the cuts on the bottom. Also, where it touched the floor and had jagged edges, I used wood filler to fill in those jagged edges. And any place where the saw had made jagged edges, I just smoothed them out with the wood filler. I'm back. My wood filler is dry. I took a 220 grit sandpaper. I sanded down all the areas where I added the wood filler to make sure that it was smooth to touch. Now I just want to take a damp cloth and wipe away all the dust that's left behind. I want to make sure that it's clean and free of all the dust so I don't paint it into my paint. Now we're ready for paint. I'm using once again my Rust-Oleum metallic paint in the champagne gold. You want to make sure that it's stirred really well before using this paint. I'll use my short handle angle brush to apply the first coat of this paint. Now the first coat will go on and really look rough, but it will take probably 3 coats to cover this. Sorry for the lighting, but the sun is on the back of the house, and this is where I'm working in the family room. Now I'm ready to add my second coat. This time I'm going to use a foam roller. I'll use a roller to get it on and then smooth it out where necessary with my paintbrush. Now I'm ready to work on my doors. Now you can see why I didn't paint the center of my drawers. I have these 8-inch mirrors that I ordered from Amazon, and I want to use them on the top. Now I will be using 2 of them, but of course they are a little bit short. So I had to figure out something to do with the center, and there is about about 3.5 inches that I need to figure out. So I have these mirror tiles that I have in my stash. So I use my mirror cutter and I cut 2 of them down to size. So I want to put them on the side. And then I want to take these mosaic mirror tiles and I'll use them to fill in the rest of the space. Now, of course, this is my dry fit. I just want to make sure that the idea that I have works. Once that's done, I'll remove everything and then I'll take my E6000, or actually I'm using E7000, and I want to use this to glue my mirrors on. Before I apply the mirror tiles that I cut down, I take this 150 grit sandpaper and I smooth out the edges of the mirror. And while I have my glue out, here's the hardware, and I just want to put it in place and glue it atop the mirror. We're going to let it dry, and we're going to come back and put a top coat on our stand. Now I'm ready to add a top coat. Off camera, I already added one layer of top coat, but I do want to do two. So I grab my 200 grit sanding paper and I'm lightly sanding the top. Now it seems I had some debris in my top coat and I want to make sure that I sand that down. I'm going to finish lightly sanding. I'll wipe away the dust and then we'll add that second coat. Here's the container I had my top coat in, and here's a top coat. I used Rust-Oleum clear top coat. Now this is made for the metallic paint. I added a little bit of the paint color in the bowl, and top coat goes on milky white. It's thick. I'm just going to mix it up, and I just mixed up just enough to do the top of my piece. I want to make sure that it's mixed really well, and then I'll apply it to the top. This will take about 2 hours to dry, so I'm going to let it dry and we're going to come back for the next step. While the top is drying, I made a template to match the holes that's on the front side. I just drilled holes or made holes in the cardboard and tape, and now I just want to drill through those holes into the wood. Once the holes are drilled out, I add the shelf brackets to the back. Now I can add the back. I took a drill bit, drilled pilot holes through the particle board, screwed in 1/2-inch screws, and I'll screw them all around the backside to hold the piece in place. Now I go the extra step to make the inside look nice. I take my clear coat and I just brush on one coat of the clear coat to the back panel. This is to give it a smooth finish. While the back panel and the top coat is drying on the top, I go ahead and reattach my doors. I'm going to tighten up the screws on the doors and we'll come back for the reveal. Just a quick reminder of what the cabinet looked like before. And here it is after. I think my cabinet turned out absolutely beautiful. But you let me know in the comments below. What do you think? Remembering where this cabinet was about 27.5 inches deep, I cut off 10 inches to make the cabinet 17 inches deep. And this is what I was left with. After cutting it down all the way around, I had to add new shelving pilot holes in the back to match the front before adding the shelf. I then used E6000 to glue the knobs to the mirror doors. So if you're out there watching and you've enjoyed this type of content, make sure you hit the subscribe button. And don't forget the notification bell so you'll know when I upload new videos. I want to say thank you all for watching. Have a wonderful, wonderful day. God bless. And I'll see you in my next video. Bye-bye.